They said I should be grateful, that I should share my inheritance with the woman who gave birth to me. But here's what they don't understand. My biological mother abandoned me at 3 days old, never looked back, never called, never sent a card. Then my grandmother died and left me everything, $4.8 million, properties, investments, a legacy built over 50 years. 3 weeks after the funeral, my birth mother sued me for half. Everyone thinks this story is about money, about greed, about family obligation. But that's not where this fire really started. The real fire started 28 years ago, the day she handed me over at the hospital and walked away without looking back. If you've ever been made to feel guilty for setting boundaries with family, you'll understand this story. If it resonates, let me know in the comments, and subscribe for more stories like this. Because what happened outside that courthouse was just the final match on a fire that had been smoldering for nearly 3 decades. My name is Lori Richardson. I'm 28 years old, and 3 weeks ago, I buried the only mother I'd ever known. The certified letter arrived on a Tuesday morning, the kind that requires a signature, the kind that makes your stomach drop before you even open it. I was still in that fog of grief, the kind where you forget what day it is, where you make coffee and forget to drink it, where you wake up reaching for your phone to call someone who isn't there anymore. My grandmother, Vivian Richardson, had raised me since I was 3 days old. Her loss had carved a hole in my chest that felt permanent. The funeral had been small, intimate, just how she would have wanted it. Her church friends, a few neighbors from Hidden Valley, my best friend Jordan, the lawyer who'd helped her build her real estate empire. I tore open the envelope with shaking hands. Expected more condolence cards, maybe final bills from the hospice. Instead, I found a legal summons. My biological mother, Brianna Cole, a woman whose face I'd only seen in one faded photograph, was suing me for $2.4 million, half of my inheritance, half of everything Grandma Vivian had worked her entire life to build. "What the hell?" I whispered. Read the words again, then again. Parental rights, biological connection, entitled to compensation for emotional damages. The legal jargon blurred together as my hands trembled. I hadn't heard from Brianna in 28 years, not a birthday card, not a Christmas call, nothing. Grandma Vivian told me the story once, her voice tight with barely contained anger. "Brianna handed you over at the hospital, baby, signed the papers, walked away without looking back. She said she had dreams that didn't include you. Now those dreams apparently included my money." I called Jordan immediately. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely dial. "Girl, you sitting down?" I asked when she picked up. "Lori, what's wrong? You sound—" "My birth mother is suing me for half of Grandma's inheritance." The line went silent. Then, "She did what?" I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the numbers. $4.8 million. Grandma Vivian had been a real estate investor, quietly buying properties in up-and-coming Charlotte neighborhoods since the 1970s. Hidden Valley, Noda, Plaza Midwood, areas everyone said would never amount to anything. She'd lived modestly in her same Hidden Valley house for 50 years, drove her 2003 Honda Civic until it literally wouldn't start anymore. "Generational wealth, baby," she'd always say, tapping the side of her head. "That's what we're building." The irony wasn't lost on me. The generation she'd built it for wasn't even biologically hers. By 6 a.m., I was at my kitchen table, surrounded by old photo albums and documents Grandma had left me. There was my adoption certificate, signed when I was 6 months old. Brianna's signature was barely legible, rushed, careless. In the margins, someone, probably a social worker, had written, "Birth mother refused visitation rights. Wants clean break." Those words felt like acid. I found the single photograph Grandma had kept of Brianna, a young woman, maybe 19, with my same deep-set eyes and high cheekbones. She was laughing at something off camera, carefree, beautiful. No hint that she'd just given away her baby. My phone buzzed, Text message from an unknown number. Lori, this is your mother. We should talk before this gets ugly. I know you're hurt, but you need to understand my side. Call me. My mother. The audacity of those 2 words made my blood boil. I blocked the number without responding. Jordan came over with coffee and breakfast sandwiches from our favorite spot on Freedom Drive. Okay, she said, spreading papers across my table like a war strategist. Let's figure this out. You got a lawyer? Not yet. The funeral expenses basically wiped my savings. The inheritance is still in probate. How much you got liquid right now? Maybe $2,800? Jordan's face fell. Lori. The next day, I drove to Grandma Vivian's house. My house now, technically. The 1950s bungalow in Hidden Valley still smelled like her. Cocoa butter, pine cleaner, the faint sweetness of her favorite perfume. Everything remained exactly as she'd left it, frozen in time. Like a museum to a life well lived. I'd been avoiding coming here, avoiding the finality of packing up her things. But I needed answers, and Grandma was meticulous about keeping records. If there was information about Brianna, it would be in her office. The converted sunroom where she'd managed her properties with an iron fist and a calculator older than me. The filing cabinet keys were in her desk drawer, right where they'd always been. I pulled open the drawer labeled Family, Personal. Found a manila folder with my name on it. Inside were the expected documents: my baby hospital bracelet, elementary school report cards, a Mother's Day card I'd made in 3rd grade with macaroni glued to construction paper. Then I found the letters. 3 envelopes, all addressed to Vivian Richardson, all from Brianna Cole, postmarked 1997, 1998, and 2003. My hands shook as I opened the first one. Mrs. Richardson, I made a mistake. I want to see Lori. I've gotten my life together now. I have a job and an apartment. Please call me. The second letter was more desperate. You can't keep her from me. She's my daughter. I'm getting a lawyer. The third was angry. Fine, keep her. But don't think I won't remember this when she's older. Blood is blood, and one day she'll know you stole her from me. My breath caught. Grandma had never mentioned these letters, never told me Brianna had tried to come back. A Post-it note was stuck to the last letter, in Grandma's neat handwriting. Called my lawyer. Brianna showed up to my house intoxicated 2004. Restraining order filed. Keep these for Lori's safety. I sat on the floor of that sunroom, holding those letters, and cried for the first time since the funeral. Mason Patterson's law office was in South Park, the kind of place with marble floors and abstract art that probably cost more than my car. Jordan insisted on coming with me, squeezed my hand as we rode the elevator to the 14th floor. Miss Richardson, the receptionist smiled warmly. Mr. Patterson is ready for you. Mason Patterson was in his mid-50s, graying temples, the confident posture of someone who'd won more cases than he'd lost. His office overlooked Tryon Street, all glass and chrome and power. Thank you for seeing me on short notice, I said, settling into the leather chair across from his massive desk. Of course. I'm so sorry for your loss. Vivian was a remarkable woman. He pulled out a thick folder. I handled her estate planning, so I'm familiar with your situation. Now, tell me about this lawsuit. I handed him the summons. He read it silently, his jaw tightening with each line. Unbelievable, he muttered. Brianna Cole. I remember her from the restraining order case in 2004. You knew about that? I filed it. Your grandmother paid me to handle it personally. He leaned back, steepled his fingers. Let me be direct, Lori. This lawsuit is garbage. Legally speaking, Brianna voluntarily terminated her parental rights. She signed adoption papers. Under North Carolina law, she has absolutely no claim to your inheritance. Relief flooded through me. So she can't win? Not a chance in hell. He paused. My relief evaporated. But she can make your life miserable for the next 6 to 12 months. Court dates, depositions, legal fees. Even fighting a baseless lawsuit costs money. How much money? With my rates? Probably $45,000 to $65,000 to see this through trial. The number hit me like a punch. I don't have that. I know, that's what she's counting on. This is a shakedown, pure and simple. Against my better judgment, I decided to meet Brianna. Mason had advised against it, but I needed to look her in the eye. Needed to understand what kind of person sues the daughter they abandoned. We met at a Starbucks in Uptown, neutral territory. I arrived 15 minutes early, ordered a green tea I couldn't drink, watched the door like a prey animal watching for predators. She walked in at exactly 2 p.m. I knew her instantly. We had the same walk, the same way of tilting our head when uncertain. But where my face was soft with Grandma's gentle upbringing, hers was hard, lined with years of something I couldn't quite name. "Lori," she said, sliding into the seat across from me. "You're so beautiful. You look just like my mother." "Don't." My voice came out sharper than intended. "Don't act like you know me." Brianna's face tightened. "I understand you're angry." "Angry? Try furious. Try bewildered. Try wondering what kind of mother abandons her baby and then shows up 28 years later with a lawsuit. I was 18. Her voice rose, drawing stares from other customers. 18 years old with no money, no education, no support. Your father, my boyfriend, he ran the minute I told him I was pregnant. My own mother kicked me out. What was I supposed to do? Not sue me for money that has nothing to do with you. That money should have been mine, she hissed, leaning forward. Vivian was my boyfriend's mother. She should have been my mother-in-law. If MJ, your father, hadn't been a coward, if he'd married me like he promised, I would have been part of that family. That inheritance would have been mine by marriage. The pieces clicked together sickeningly. This isn't about me at all, I said. This is about money you think you're owed. I gave birth to you. That has to count for something. You gave birth to me and gave me away in the same breath. I stood up. We're done here. Brianna's revelation about my father haunted me. My father's name was Marcus Jr. Everyone called him MJ, and he'd been Grandma Vivian's son. I'd always known Grandma wasn't my biological grandmother. The adoption papers made that clear. But I'd never understood the full picture. That night, I went back to Grandma's office, searched for anything about MJ Richardson. I found his high school graduation photo from 1995, a handsome boy with my same nose and smile. Behind it was his death certificate. Marcus Jr. MJ Richardson died February 14, 1997. Age, 19. Cause, car accident. He died when I was 6 months old. I felt dizzy, holding the certificate in shaking hands. My father had been dead for nearly my entire life, and Grandma had never told me. Another folder, this one labeled MJ Jr. Inside were report cards, basketball trophies, newspaper clippings, a letter from UNC Charlotte offering him a full scholarship. And then, tucked in the very back, I found it. A journal entry in Grandma's handwriting, dated March 1996. MJ told me about the baby today. He's terrified, but he wants to do right. Says he loves Brianna, wants to marry her after graduation. I told him he's too young, that they need to wait. Brianna is angry with me. She thinks I'm trying to keep them apart. Maybe I am. She's not stable. I see it in her eyes, that wildness. She reminds me of Marcus Sr. before the drink took him. I'm scared for my boy. Another entry, dated August 1996. MJ broke up with Brianna. Says she's been using drugs, staying out all night. The baby's due in 3 weeks. I told him he still has responsibilities, but he's just a scared kid himself. I don't know what to do. The final entry, dated January 2nd, 1997. Brianna brought the baby to the hospital. 3 days old, barely 6 pounds. She said she can't do it. Can't be a mother. I'm bringing Lori home tomorrow. God help me, I don't know what I'm doing. But I know I love this baby already. She's all I have left of my son. I didn't realize I was crying until tears hit the page. The deposition was scheduled for a Monday morning at Mason's office. Brianna arrived with her lawyer, a slick-looking man named Derek Nash, who specialized in family reconciliation cases, which apparently meant shaking down adopted children for inheritance money. I sat across from them at a massive conference table, a court reporter's fingers poised over her stenography machine. Mason sat beside me, his presence a comfort. "Let's begin," Derek said, smiling like a shark. "Ms. Cole, can you describe your relationship with your daughter?" "I gave birth to Lori on January 2nd, 1997, Brianna began, her voice practiced, smooth. It was the hardest thing I ever did, but I was young, poor, and alone. I made the impossible decision to place her with Vivian Richardson because I wanted her to have a better life. I wanted to scream. Mason squeezed my hand under the table. "And after the adoption?" Derek continued. "I tried to maintain contact. I sent letters, called, but Vivian shut me out completely. She poisoned Lori against me, made sure I could never be part of my own daughter's life." "That's a lie," I said, unable to stay quiet. Derek turned to me, his smile widening. "Miss Richardson, you'll have your turn. Now, Ms. Cole, when did you learn about Vivian Richardson's death?" I saw the obituary in the Charlotte Observer. It listed Lori as her sole beneficiary, inheriting approximately $4.8 million in assets. Brianna's eyes met mine. I saw no warmth there, only calculation. I realized then that Vivian had cut me out of everything. She'd taken my daughter and ensured I'd never benefit from the family that should have been mine. "So you filed suit?" "I filed suit to claim what's rightfully mine. Lori wouldn't exist without me. The least she can do is share the inheritance." Something in me snapped. The least I can do. My voice was ice. Mason tried to stop me, but I was done being silent. "You want to know what you did for me?" "Nothing." I stood up from the table. "You want to talk about what's owed? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the chicken pox I had when I was 7, how Grandma Vivian stayed up for 3 nights straight putting calamine lotion on my spots. Let's talk about the time I broke my arm in 5th grade. She worked double shifts for 3 months to pay the medical bills because her insurance had lapsed." "Lori," Brianna started. "I'm not finished." My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady. "Let's talk about every birthday, every Christmas, every school play, every heartbreak, every triumph. Grandma Vivian was there for all of it. Where were you?" "I was trying to get my life together." "For 28 years? You know what I think? I think you didn't want me. You wanted your freedom. Wanted to live your life without the burden of a baby. That's fine. That was your choice. But you don't get to come back now and claim you're owed something." Derek stood up. "Miss Richardson, these emotional outbursts won't help your case." "I don't have a case to make." I slammed my hands on the table. "She's the one suing me. She's the one claiming that squeezing me out of her body 28 years ago entitles her to money she never earned, from a woman who raised me while she was off doing God knows what." "I was building a life," Brianna shouted, standing to meet me across the table. "I was in school, working 2 jobs, trying to become someone you could be proud of." "Then where's your degree? Where's your career? Where's any evidence that you spent the last 3 decades doing anything but avoiding responsibility?" The silence that followed was deafening. Brianna's face crumpled. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. That night, Jordan came over with Thai food and wine. "Girl," she said, settling onto my couch. "I heard you went off in that deposition. Mason called me, said you made Derek Nash's client cry." "Good." I stabbed at my pad thai viciously. "She should cry." "Have you thought about settling? Just giving her something to make her go away?" "Every single day. But Mason says that's what she wants, to terrorize me into paying her off. He says if I do it, I'll regret it forever." He's right. Jordan poured us both generous glasses of wine. But that doesn't make it easier. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Lori Richardson?" A woman's voice, older, uncertain. "Yes? My name is Gloria Cole. I'm Brianna's mother, your grandmother." I nearly dropped the phone. Jordan's eyes went wide as I put the call on speaker. "I know I have no right to contact you," Gloria continued, her voice thick with emotion. "But I had to call. I had to tell you the truth about what happened. Because Brianna is lying to everyone, including herself." "I'm listening." "When Brianna got pregnant, I didn't kick her out. I begged her to stay, to let me help raise you. But she was using drugs, cocaine mostly, running with a bad crowd. She'd disappear for days. When you were born, she brought you home for exactly 2 days. Then one morning I woke up and you were both gone. Next thing I knew, she'd given you to Vivian Richardson." My chest tightened. "Why?" "Because Vivian had money. And Brianna thought she could use you as leverage. She tried to get Vivian to pay her $12,000, said she needed it to get on her feet. Vivian refused, and adopted you instead." Gloria Cole agreed to meet me in person. She lived in University City, in a modest apartment complex near the airport. When she opened her door, I saw an older version of Brianna, but with kind eyes and careful hands that trembled as she invited me in. "Thank you for coming," she said, gesturing to her living room. Photos covered every surface. Pictures of Brianna as a child, school portraits, family gatherings. And in the middle of it all, one photo of me as a baby, the only one she had. "I've thought about you every day for 28 years, Gloria said softly. "Wondered if you were happy, if you were loved. Vivian wouldn't let me see you. She thought I was too close to Brianna, that I might tell her where you were." "Wait, Brianna didn't know where I was?" "Not until you turned 18 and the records were unsealed. Even then, she didn't try to contact you. Not until now." Gloria pulled out a cardboard box. "I saved everything. All the evidence of who Brianna really was, who she still is. I thought you might need it someday." Inside the box were police reports. Arrests for possession, shoplifting, check fraud, court orders for mandatory rehab, and most damning of all, another adoption certificate. "She has another child," I whispered, staring at the document. "Had. A boy. Born in 2001. She gave him up too, same as you. Told the adoption agency she couldn't care for him." Gloria's eyes filled with tears. "I tried to adopt him myself, but I was already 65. They said I was too old. He went to a family in Tennessee. I don't even know his name now." "Does Brianna's lawyer know about this?" "I don't think so. She's been telling everyone you're her only child, that giving you up destroyed her, that she spent years trying to get you back." Gloria's voice hardened. "It's all lies. She's doing this for money, pure and simple." I pulled out my phone, called Mason, hands shaking. "I have evidence. We need to meet, now." Mason reviewed Gloria's documents with growing satisfaction. "This is exactly what we need," he said, spreading police reports across his desk. "Brianna has been portraying herself as a devoted mother torn from her child by a cruel system. This proves she's a serial abandoner who's only interested in money." "Can we use it in court?" "Absolutely. We'll file a motion to dismiss based on fraud." He smiled wickedly. And I'm going to countersue her for abuse of process and emotional distress. If she wants to play dirty, we'll bury her. The next deposition was 2 weeks later. This time we came prepared. Derek started with his usual sympathetic questions, letting Brianna paint herself as a victim. Then Mason stood up. Ms. Cole, you testified that Lori is your only child, correct? Yes, Brianna said confidently. And you've never given up another child for adoption. Brianna's face paled. What? Mason slid a document across the table. This is an adoption certificate for Tyler James Wilson, born to Brianna Renee Cole on March 15, 2001. Would you like to revise your testimony? The room went silent. Derek grabbed the document, his face darkening as he read. I can explain, Brianna started. Please do, Mason said coldly. Explain how you're suing Lori for depriving you of a relationship when you voluntarily gave up 2 children. Explain how you're claiming emotional damages when you never once tried to contact your daughter in 28 years, despite knowing exactly where she was after she turned 18. This is a witch hunt, Derek sputtered. This is the truth, Mason shot back. He produced another stack of papers. 3 arrests for drug possession between 1998 and 2005, 2 stints in court-ordered rehab, both of which you failed to complete. A restraining order filed by Vivian Richardson in 2004 after you showed up at her home intoxicated and threatening. Should I continue? Brianna was crying now, mascara running down her face. You don't understand what it was like. I understand perfectly, I said quietly. All eyes turned to me. You're a con artist. You've been running cons your whole life. On your mother, on MJ Richardson, on his mother, on your children, and now on me. Continue to part 2.